Welcome to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1, where I discuss geocaching and my adventures with it. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts or on the Geocache Adventures Facebook page. You can also sign up for the Geocache Adventures newsletter, which features upcoming episode information, behind-the-scenes articles, and other fun articles and information. I'm putting the spoiler here at the beginning this week because we talk about so many great geocaches that Joshua has found, and there are some spoilers about those throughout the entire episode besides just the cache highlights. So, spoiler alert for the entire episode. This interview was recorded using Zoom and may sound different than other podcast audio. Hello, everybody. Amy, Shadow Dragon 1 here, and with me is Joshua the Geocaching Vlogger. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, Amy, it is so good to talk to you. And the people may not realize I actually get to see your face because we're using Zoom, but I did get to see your face in Moga in Owensboro, Kentucky. So you said hello to me there. So it's not the first time we've chatted, but it's probably the first time we've chatted at any length of time. So this is exciting. I'm so glad to be talking about my favorite topic, which is geocaching.
Yes, I was standing in line at the I think it was the Geo Tour coin thing to get my coin, and I caught you out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, I literally stood there the whole time working up the courage. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the geocaching vlogger.
I don't bite. You could have came right up to me. I would have been glad to talk to you. I love talking to geocachers, especially about geocaching. So, well, I'm glad you worked up the courage. I'm so glad. But you didn't, actually, now that I think about it, that's not the first time we talked. We talked inside, I think, right? Didn't we talk inside first? Or was it outside? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
I thought it was like later on that night inside we talked for the first time. So regardless, you worked up the courage. That's good.
Yeah, I think that's what I think that was when I just like real briefly said, hi, I have a podcast. Here's my card. Would you even consider coming on it? And then I believe maybe later that evening we may have chatted for a few minutes.
Yes.
But yeah.
And I was like, confirmed. I've heard of your podcast. I would love to be on it. And so, yeah, I'm glad to be here. Super glad to be here.
Well, I do appreciate you joining me today. So for starters, can you tell us what your geocaching name is?
My geocaching name is Geocaching Vlogger. I know, shocking, right? On YouTube, my branding is the Geocaching Vlogger, but I decided, for my actual geocaching name, it's okay. I could drop the, so I'm Geocaching Vlogger. It's funny though, because I changed my name because I've been geocaching for a little over 13 years, and when I started geocaching, my geocaching name was Mayberry Man because I have a love for the old Andy Griffith show. And so I was Mayberry Man when I started, and then when I started the vlog, like 3 years after I started, because the vlog has been going for 10 years now, I changed my name to Geocaching Vlogger. I just thought I'd eliminate the confusion and just have everything the same. So, yep.
Makes sense.
I'm Geocaching Vlogger, or if you see me on YouTube, very important, the Geocaching Vlogger. Although there are many geocaching vloggers, but I was probably one of the first ones, or at least the first person to use that name. So.
Well, and if you forget to put the in the search, it does still come up. I can confirm that. So
good. Well, that's a relief. That's a big relief.
So you said you've been doing this for about 13 years. How did you get started geocaching?
I had some friends that had talked to me about it way back. It was, I think, a science teacher, like an elementary science teacher, and he mentioned it to me. I thought it sounded interesting, but nothing ever like stuck. I never was like, oh, this sounds cool, take me to do it. So, and I probably should have done that because he could have like shown me the ropes. So I heard about it like years and years ago. This is probably within a couple years of geocaching starting, I'd say 2002 maybe, so 2 years into geocaching's existence. And so that's how I heard about the first time. And then I had a coworker about 13 years ago mention it again. And that time when he talked about it, it stuck. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, you know somebody that geocaches? They'll take you geocaching." Well, I didn't have the patience for that, and so Father's Day about 13 years ago, I was like, "You know what? I want to do this. I want to try geocaching." So I just literally went and did my research online. I got one of those yellow Garmin eTrex GPS R receiver, and I just, not even trying geocaching once, I got it. It came to to my workplace. I looked at the website. I had been looking at the website like, oh, where are, they're all around me, cool, but I couldn't find them without. I probably could have found them with maybe Google Maps or something, but Google Maps wasn't probably as good in 2008 anyway. And I plugged in the numbers manually. I figured it out, and it was right next. My first geocache was right next to my work, and I went and found my very first geocache. And when I had that eureka moment, like, oh my gosh, I drive by this area every single day, and I never knew that there was a whole new world that I wasn't aware of, and I was hooked from there. I was enthralled with the GPSR receiver that after I found that first cache, I got in my car and I was entering the coordinates for the next one I was going to find. And this is back when, I wasn't doing paperless caching. I actually printed out sheets of paper. I mean, I'm old school, Amy. I'm old school. Printed out sheets of paper, and I was plugging in the numbers. And true story, the first day I started caching, that was June 4th, 2008, I rear-ended another car because I was looking at my GPSR so intently that I rear-ended somebody on my very first day of caching. I know. Luckily, there wasn't a lot of damage, but that just shows you how focused and excited I was about geocaching on that first day.
As if your first geocache wasn't memorable enough.
I know. But lesson learned, don't look at that smartphone while you're driving. Don't look at the GPSR. Focus.
It's amazing anybody got anywhere in the day of you had the giant map people would have on their steering wheel trying to drive.
I know. I remember printing out MapQuest, like sheets of paper, reams of paper to get anywhere. And I think I did have one of those like Garmin driving GPSRs, but I learned very quickly, like, I don't think I can geocache with this. So yeah. I went straight for the little eTrex.
So what kind of stats do you have after 13 years?
Well, I don't know if I should be proud of this or slightly ashamed, because there's people that have been geocaching even shorter than me that have many more finds. But I'm just going to qualify this right now, okay? I am not a numbers guy. I am a quality cache person. I'm a cool location person. I'm not a power trail person. And proof is that I went to the ET Highway. If your listeners are not familiar, it's in the middle of the desert in Nevada. We're talking 2,000 geocaches right in a row. I went to the ET Highway and I only found 12. So that tells you what kind of control I have when it comes to numbers. So to answer your question, that was a long qualifying statement. I have a little over 5,900 finds. So it's not
bad.
Not bad, but I mean, 13 years. I should. If I really went hard, I could get those numbers up. But again, for me, it's not the numbers; it's the quality caches and the quality places and experiences.
It's amazing how many different types of geocachers there are.
And yes,
geocaches for every type of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was just talking to Doug McRae. I don't know if that name's familiar to you. Doug McRae is he's a retired guy. That's his geocaching name. But the cool thing about Doug is that he's the inventor. Get this, Amy. He's the inventor of Miss Pac-Man. How cool is that? Yeah. And he was actually at Moga, and a lot of people don't know he was the inventor of Miss Pac-Man. But this guy, his thing is souvenirs. He wants to get as many souvenirs. He's nipping at the heels of some other people. There's 2 other people I think in the world that are ahead of him in number of souvenirs found. And he just messaged me today and he was in Fargo because the way to get souvenirs quickly is do those geo tours because you get a souvenir every time you do a geo tour. So he's just focused on geo tours. He goes, I did a geo tour in Fargo yesterday, and tomorrow I'm going to Mexico.
Oh,
so,
wow.
I mean, this guy, you're right. There are some people like that's his focus. It's not about a bunch of caches, but he loves getting those little digital pieces of souvenirs, souvenirs that you don't have to dust.
That's great.
But you're right. There's all kinds of different caches. There's big numbers. There's people that love Earth caches. There's people that love multis. There are people that love virtuals. And now Adventure Labs. Like people are like focusing on like I love Adventure Labs. So that's what's so great about our hobby. Really, is that there's just such variety. Like you can make it whatever you want to make it.
There really is. Do you have a favorite cache type?
I would say. If I had to find one cache type for the rest of my life, I think it would be gadget caches. There's so much variety to them. I'm not a big mystery cache or unknown type finder. I'm not really a fan of doing puzzles on the website, but I do love getting my hands on a cache and trying to figure out how to open it. There's just so much variety to it. There's so much creativity, and then also like because I shoot videos. Also, often they're themed. So like when I was just in New York a couple weeks ago, and I found some really cool Star Wars themed caches that were gadget caches. So I love a cache that can tell a good story where the cache page matches the experience you have. So yeah, to answer your question, I think if I could find one cache for the rest of my life, it would probably be gadget caches. Second place would be like a cache that takes me to a really amazing, cool location.
Yeah.
And those are just so memorable. I had an opportunity a couple years ago to go to Brazil and got to see Iguazu waterfall, which I saw on, I don't know if you remember that Planet Earth series where it was like the water series and the deserts, the water one. That was the first time I saw this incredible waterfall, and I was like, someday when I'm old and retired, I might have the chance to see this waterfall. But I had the opportunity because geocaching took me there, and it was like super memorable. And there was a virtual there, and I was the first American to log that virtual because it was brand new. And so second place is caches that take me to a really cool location. If it can be a gadget cache that takes me to a really location, I'm in heaven.
That's awesome. So you said you've had the vlog for 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get started with that? What made you decide to start documenting all these adventures?
It was very much by accident. So my kids were probably close to your age, elementary age, and I was starting to feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm missing these moments. I feel like I need to document these moments of my kids when they were little and then when they were cute. But then I would go to like school choir concerts, and I don't know if you can relate, Amy, but the people that like brought the full camcorder with the tape in it, and I'm like, really you're going to rewatch this whole concert over someday? So I thought, oh, that's not the key. But back in 2011, the flip, I don't know if you remember the flip camera. It was like a tiny camera. I have it over here. It was like a tiny camera, but it had a little USB that popped out of it, and it just had a little button, and it had record, stop. And so it saved this video on this little device with no tape, and it was perfect for capturing just those little moments where you're just like, I just want to capture like 30 seconds of this moment. I want to capture 30 seconds of this choir concert. I don't need the whole thing. So I was like, I'm going to get one of those flip cameras. And I'd watched some YouTube because there were some other vloggers and they were using these. It was just really convenient. It fit in their pocket. So I was like, I'm going to get one of these flip cameras. So I went to Craigslist and I found somebody that was selling a flip camera. And where did I meet them? I met them in a parking lot not too far away. And so we made the transaction, but I was like, okay, I didn't want to get ripped off on Craigslist. So I was like, I need to test this out to make sure it worked. And guess what? There was a light pole cache, an LPC, right next to where the deal was made. And I was like, okay, well, just for fun, let's film this LPC. And it was in defense of this LPC, it was like a good one. It wasn't like a typical one. So it was a cool one. And so I filmed it. I was like, oh, that worked. And then I was like, okay, like, well, how was the quality? So I went home and I put it on my computer. I was like, you know what? That's cool. I'm going to upload it to YouTube just for fun. I uploaded it to YouTube, and I mean, I was like, a few people watched it. I was like, oh my gosh, other people might be interested. It was like aha moment. Other people might be interested in these little adventures because I think geocaching is pretty cool. And at that time, in 2011 there were a lot of YouTubers that were like vlogging their life, like like daily vloggers. They're like, but a lot of them were like, it was normal life. It was like, now I'm having cereal, now I'm taking the kids to school, and they just talk about their life. And I was like, that it's kind of mundane. But then I thought to myself, well, what's not mundane is geocaching. And I was like, what if I consistently like share some of my geocaching adventures? And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to make a goal for myself. I'll upload one geocaching adventure a week, and I'll just see how it goes, just for fun. And long story short, 10 years later, I have not missed a week. I've uploaded at least one geocaching video every week for over 10 years.
That's impressive.
If you tell me back then that I'd still be doing it, I'd be like, whoa, that's shocking. But as people started watching it, and you kind of see those numbers go up, you're like, oh my gosh, like people are counting on me, like I can't miss a week. So
the feeling, it's like, oh wow, you got like 2 people that pay attention to something you have to say, and the next thing you know there's like 20, and it keeps growing, and you're just like, oh, I have to hit my deadline. I know, exactly. I'm sure you can relate with the podcast. When you start getting feedback, when you start getting emails, you're like, you know what, like people, oh my gosh, people are really watching this or listening to it, like this is really cool. So that's kind of a long way to say I randomly got a camera in the parking lot. Give it a try. Oh, that's great. I love it. So on your vlog, you have some really amazing caches that you go visit. How do you find them?
Yeah. It's the number one question I get on TikTok, because I've ventured down I don't know if it's the dark road of TikTok. I love it. TikTok's a lot of fun. Amy, do you have a TikTok by chance?
I do not. I have not tried to start that yet. That requires more time than I have.
Yeah. Well, if you just download it just to consume videos, let me just warn you, it's highly addictive. But
I've heard a lot of people say that, actually.
Yeah, it's true, and that's why there's success on the app. But a lot of people, I've introduced a lot of new people, a lot of young people to geocaching, and the number one question I get, because a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, what is this? It's geocaching. Oh, I'm going to download the app," and then they come back later and they're like, "Oh wow," because I highlight some really amazing caches.
You do.
They're like, "Wow, all I find is." I found a pill bottle, a tree. Like, how do you find that? So people are confused. So I really I tell them, hey, follow the favorite points.
Yeah.
Every community has some really high profile, great caches that have a great location or a lot of thought we're put into them. And that's what I do. I kind of, if I'm going to a new area in my day job, I do get the opportunity to travel for work. So sometimes I'm often in a lot of new locations just by default, and I'll filter it by those favorite points. And and I just want to say too, I am really mindful, about I know you even mentioned it here on your podcast about spoilers, and I do ask permission. I ask permission from the cache owner, especially if it's a very high profile cache or it's a very cool gadget cache. And most of the time, it's pretty rare if somebody says, no, I don't want you to, because a lot of people are honored. They realize that not everybody will be able to visit their cache, if they live in Missouri and they live in, Sydney, Australia. You're like, you know what, I'm probably not going to get there very soon. And so, and it gives, I'm going down a different path, but it gives, geocache hiders different ideas too, that they could maybe emulate or put their own twist on it. But yeah, simple answer, follow the favorite points. If you're a new cacher and you're listening to this and you're like, I'm not finding very cool stuff, it helps to also, I think, Amy, you would probably say this too, to be a premium member. It's totally worth it, because you're able to access features. If you're not a premium member on the app, I believe you can't find caches that are over two too difficult terrain, and that really limits the amount of caches that you can find. So once you're a premium member, that whole world is opened up to you on the app. I know you can access on the computer, but let's be honest, like a lot of people, they just experience geocaching completely on their phones.
Oh, these days, yeah. And just to have those filter options in the app, I would say that alone is worth paying the $30 a year if you can afford to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get to find different kinds of caches too, because I think it's limited to traditional, so you can find those virtual, so you can find a multi-cache or a Where I Go. And in TikTok, I try not to confuse people because everybody's like, they go from, what is geocaching? So I don't try to, tell them, oh, there's this whole other world and just puzzles and there's gadgets and all this.
There's whole other worlds in
it's a big world.
geocaching.
It's a big geo world.
It is. And I haven't been in it nearly as long as you, and I've started in just about 2 years at this point, and it is overwhelming at first when you get on there and you're like, oh yeah, what the heck is all this stuff and what is everybody talking about online? And
there's a lot to learn.
World.
And the cool thing about your podcast is I'm sure as you're interviewing people, you're learning stuff as you interview people. I'm sure.
I've learned a lot by doing this podcast, actually, by interviewing people or doing research totally. I've learned a lot more by doing this podcast than I have out in the field, just because it gives me more opportunity to experience different perspectives and different stuff that I may not have around me in my area.
Yeah. And isn't that amazing? Because I wouldn't be anywhere in geocaching if it wasn't for somebody that like took me under their wings. When I first went out, I found the first one, but then I started looking for more difficult ones. Cause the box, you find the box, oh cool, it's a box, but you don't realize, oh my gosh, there's geocaches hidden in sticks, and so I was at the beginning, the first week of geocaching, I was just striking out, and I was nice enough to have the cache owner like contact me because I was logging the DNFs, and they're like, "Hey, I see that you're new to geocaching. How about I take you to this? How about I take you to this cache that you seem to be struggling with, so you can get an idea what to look for." So the cool thing about the internet is that you don't have to meet a strange person out in the woods. You can talk to them in the safety of your own home. But I remember that feeling of like, what am I doing? I'm just meeting a strange person in the woods to find a box.
Every parent's worst nightmare.
I know. Is this safe? But I'm so glad I took the risk because he ended up being a great friend, and he ended up mentoring me. Like I would not have known anything. So my advice, especially if you're a new cacher listening to this, is like really like there's Facebook groups and there's geocachers are the friendliest people. I don't know if you experienced this, Amy, but they're some of the friendliest people. And if you need some direction, I had somebody DNF one of my more difficult caches today, and I messaged them and I said, "Hey, thanks for trying to open my cache, but can I give you a hint?" And they're like, "Oh my gosh, yes!" Like. And realizing that there's like people behind the caches, I think it's just like, whoa, like it's pretty cool.
It is. And when you get a cache owner that's active and maintaining their cache and paying attention to the logs, it makes such a big difference to especially a new person.
Oh yeah.
There's so many caches I found where it's like, there's an issue with your cache, message them or something, nothing happens, a bunch of DNFs come by, and finally somebody archives it.
Right.
But when you get somebody that's actually active and it's like, oh, thanks for letting me know, I'm going to go check on that. Or, hey, here's a hint. If you're struggling with it, try this. It makes it such a much more enjoyable experience.
Oh, I agree. So there's a good lesson for cache owners. It's like, be responsive to people. And I'm one of those people that are like, caches are meant to be found. They're meant to be found. So if somebody needs a nudge or a hint, like I'm more than glad to point them in the right direction, because I really want them to have a good experience. I don't want them to have a negative experience, because I want people to keep doing this, because really geocaching has changed my life, and I think it has the ability to change other people's lives.
I'd agree with that. Okay, so you have traveled a lot of different places on your vlog. Mm-hmm. How often do you get to travel with it? You said work allows you to travel some.
A little bit. although COVID-19 put everything to a halt, sadly.
Yeah.
But prior to that, yeah, work, my day job, I get to go to many new communities, so that's one part of it. But also, I do try to be intentional about, um, seeking out some areas maybe that I haven't visited before in the United States. Like, so when I'm looking at my, like, where do I want to go next? I look at some geo tours, like, oh, that place has a new geo tour, or what really drives it is events. So we are officially, as we're recording this right now, which is July 20th. We are in the thick of caching season, meaning that all the mega events in the Northern Hemisphere, they're like all happening right now. Yeah. So I love going to events because, maybe, I don't know if you can relate to this, but you kind of put you put content out into the universe, and you want to make a difference, and you hope that you're making an impact. And I see the comments on YouTube, but it's so powerful to have somebody's face and say, "Oh my gosh, I watch your video. I enjoy it so much. Thank you." Or somebody say, like, I was getting burned out by geocaching, but seeing your excitement about the hobby, like, reinvigorated me. Like, that's major payoff. So I really, as far as travel goes, like, I really try to focus on going to events, mega events, so I'm able to chat with people. But yeah, sometimes I'll target things like I mentioned before, the Brazil. Like, I thought someday I get to go to the Brazil ape cache. So if I don't know if you've talked about it on the podcast before, Amy, but there's two very famous geocaches, that the Project Ape caches, and when they started out, there were a bunch all over the world, and now there's only two left. There's one in Washington and one in Brazil. I've been to the one in Washington a couple times, and I was like, someday, like, geocachers have this thing, I don't know if you can relate, is like this idea of, like, check the box, right? Like, I gotta find, kind of like that Pokemon Go feel, like I gotta catch them all. I gotta cache them all. So I thought, oh, amazing! Wouldn't it be amazing to go to the Brazil ape cache it's in the jungle? And I thought, oh, maybe when maybe when I'm old and retired and have so much money that I can travel wherever. Well, I have a great friend in Germany. His name's Daniel Flieger, and he has a geocaching travel agency. It's called Cache Horizon. Can you believe there's such a thing? A geocaching.
I can, because I actually interviewed somebody that does that here in America. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. So he has a geocaching travel agency that takes Germans all over the world to these really amazing locations. So I did get a tour with them. Get this, it was a 10-day bus tour, 31 Germans and myself touring the Pacific Northwest in a coach bus.
Wow.
It was amazing, and it was so fun because I didn't have to plan any of it. I get in my coach bus, I just ride, take a little nap, and then the bus stops, and then you go find an awesome, like, old cache, and then you get back, you go for a nice hike, you get back in, you go to sleep. It was no driving, no planning. It was amazing. But I had also the opportunity because, Daniel, my friend, who owns Cache Horizon, he was wanting to promote these tours. And fun fact, YouTube, great visual way to promote things. And so he invited me to come along to document one of these trips to Brazil. So I've had some cool opportunities just because of the vlog, people wanting to promote or share their area or show their cool caches, and they've invited me to come out. So I've been to Brazil. I got to go to work in South Korea. I got to do some fun there. I've been to Germany twice now, and then throughout the United States. And there's so many other places I'd love to go. Because the cool thing about caching, it's everywhere. It
is everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Well, except North Korea. Maybe someday.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there right now.
Is there a specific place or cache that is on your list that you haven't had a chance to find yet?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. Because when I was in Brazil at the ape cache, I literally was thinking to myself, I've peaked. Like, there's nowhere to go from here. Um, so so I was like, what? Because I'm like, there needs to be a new goal, right? So if I'm thinking about the world, boy, Antarctica, because I would love to hit every continent. So my friend Doug, Miss Pac-Man guy,
Mm-hmm.
he's done it. He's done Antarctica. There's virtuals there. He swam, in the Arctic, not Arctic, the Antarctic Sea. I don't know
Oh.
even know. I don't even know what it is, but the sea, the cold sea down south.
Oh my goodness.
So I would love to hit every continent. I was supposed to go to New Zealand last year, but COVID hit. So I love the Australian, New Zealand. I thought that was going to happen, did not happen. So those are, and then there's a lot in Europe I like to explore too. So I have a lot of people watch my videos in the Netherlands. So I get a lot of requests about that. So I haven't done a whole lot of extensive Europe trips. So yeah, those are the things that kind of come to and Iceland. I keep seeing people flying to Iceland and visiting volcanoes, and it just looks really amazing.
I've heard there are a lot of great earth caches out there in Iceland.
Yeah, and I want to visit in the summer because it's just like the landscape is like it's green, but then all of a sudden it's like a volcano, and like, because I didn't mention this. I live in Minnesota, so and you kind of get this with Missouri, but maybe not as much. I mean, I live pretty much for a huge chunk of time, I live in the tundra. So
you get a lot more snow than we do in Missouri.
Yeah, and it gets real frigid. So I'm not super excited by super cold places, but I'd love to go to Iceland. I've had a couple friends. Annie Love, who's one of the lackeys, she just got back from there, and just showing the pictures on Facebook of just being close to really amazing volcanoes. And yeah, so Earth, yeah, you're right. Earth caches. I'm not a huge fan of Earth caches, but if it's a volcano,
that would be pretty cool.
Totally.
That would be an Earth cache worth going to, as long as it's not erupting.
Yes, totally. Oh, and that reminds me, I went to Hawaii right before I started caching. So that's that's my major like caching regret. If I want to get all 50 states, I gotta get back to Hawaii. Darn, shoot, I have to go back to Hawaii.
You gotta go back to Hawaii. Yeah.
So I have to go back to Hawaii, and I'm planning on going to Alaska in September. So.
Oh, nice.
Yay. So.
Nice.
But to answer your question, like I just been really fortunate because without the vlog, I would not have had the opportunity to go to some of these really cool places. So I'm just really thankful, grateful, and it's just again really enhanced my life because
that's
of that.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
What has been your most memorable find or location that you've been to for geocaching?
Okay, I'd say location Brazil, hands down so far. I mentioned the Iguazu waterfall. They're actually going to the ape cache. So the ape cache in Brazil, it's in a like a what would be considered as like a state park for us, south of Sao Paulo. And the cool thing is, it's Intervala State Park. It is so great because you can go there. Highly recommended. The business expense is just traveling down there but once you get there, like you stay in like these nice little cabins like on site, and there's every type of geocache there. There's a geo tour. You can complete a geo tour just in that park, and then of course find the famous ape cache. So like that location was just really cool, and it's really like set up for geocachers. So
that's
highly
cool.
recommend if you ever get a chance to head down to Brazil and experience that. Highly recommend. But so the area for caches, if you've seen my videos, you're not going to be surprised at some of these, mentioning some of these. So Gilby, North Dakota. Gilby, North Dakota is the home of Tricaceus. Such a huge concentration of amazing gadget caches. Some of the most creative things I've ever seen have been in Gilby, North Dakota. And you can, like, we're talking, I don't know, 60, 70 different gadget caches.
That's a lot.
Gilby. So it's just north of Fargo. So Fargo Moorhead has a really cool geo tour too. So it's a destination. Some amazing gadget caches. One that really sticks out is one called Driving Miss Daisy. I don't know if you've seen this
I
video.
love that movie.
Yeah, great movie. Great movie, even a great cache. So, spoiler, are you ready? Spoiler, skip ahead if you don't want to hear this. It's on my vlog, but basically the concept of this cache is you get to the cache and it's an ammo can. You're like, cool, ammo can. You open it up and inside of it is like sort of like it looks like a hairdryer kind of
Okay.
sort of thing. Has a fan in it, and then on the handle there's some lights, or some LEDs that you're like, oh, this is supposed to light up, and you realize very quickly if you move it, the air goes through the thing, and because of the wind power, lights up the lights, because inside the ammo can it's locked up. Well,
Okay.
on the handle of this little device that looks like a hairdryer, it says Miss Daisy, and it's the hint for it, I think, is like, follow the hint of the of the name of the cache, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to drive with Miss Daisy. So you go get in your car, you get on the country road, and you have to get going probably about 45 miles per hour with Miss Daisy hanging out the window to get enough power for it to light up the padlock code for the cache.
That is awesome.
I never seen anything like it. I never seen anything like it. So creative, so fun, a little dangerous when you're trying to film with
Yeah.
one hand, hold Miss Daisy in another hand, and drive with your knee. But I was able to.
Oh gosh.
So that one sticks out for me. There's one in Hanover, Germany, called My Fair Lady. Another movie name. And this one is outside of a sporting camp store, and what you do is you get there and there's a lockbox on the wall with a padlock code. You have to figure out how to open it. Well, you read the cache page, you have to call a phone number. So you call the phone number, and all of a sudden there's a mannequin in the window, and the mannequin, when you call the number, activates a motor in the mannequin, and the mannequin lifts up her shirt slightly so you see her belly of the mannequin, and it has the number for the padlock code on her belly.
Wow.
So it's activated. There's a phone hidden inside the mannequin that when it lights up, the light sets off a motor to have the mannequin slightly lift, and then it drops it. So you have to like catch it. And when I first saw that, I was like, oh, it was probably the funniest cache I've ever seen. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's outside the box.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that one really. I mean, that just always sticks out in my mind as an amazing cache. And there's so many other amazing geocaches in Hanover, Germany, which is also the home of Daniel, the guy I was talking about earlier, that has the travel agency. Well, he has a business in Hanover called Geheimpunkt, which translates to the hidden spot. So
Okay.
a geocaching company where he will set up team building events for companies. He has a mobile escape room. Like, he'll drive a van, and people will go there and they'll get to experience an escape room. And then the whole city is filled with amazing caches. A lot of them are in partnerships with some of the businesses around there. So that camping store, for example, like wanted that cache there. And the cool thing about it is that it's set up so, to follow the rules, you don't have to go into the store to experience it, but it's there. So the businesses really love having the attention of having these amazing caches in front of their stores. So
that's cool.
It is very cool.
Wow. That I'm just trying to picture the mannequin.
Yeah.
Pulling its shirt up just slightly.
Yeah. Well, if you want to see that, you can see that video is on YouTube.
I'll have to look up that video. I haven't seen that one.
All you have to search is the funniest geocache I've ever found, or something like that. That's the name of the video. Or and you will find it. My reaction. I think my reaction to the cache is as funny or exciting as the actual cache, because I was literally like covering my mouth, and I was like, I'm looking at Daniel. Are you kidding, Daniel? Are you kidding? That is so funny.
That's great. So, in a couple of your videos, you have been to geocaches in or around tattoo parlors, and you have commented a couple times about possibly getting a trackable tattoo.
Yes.
So, is that something you're contemplating, or?
Yeah. Well, so I guess to back up a little bit, I'm sure. Have you seen the video where I went to the tattoo parlor with the giant cache hidden inside the tattoo parlor?
Yes,
Yes.
you got your first tattoo while you were there.
I got my first
correct?
tattoo, and you can't see it because it's not good for podcasting. But yeah, there it is. It's a roller coaster. And I thought, for my first tattoo, I was like, okay. I never thought I'd get a tattoo, but I always said to myself, if I ever get a tattoo, it's going to be in this parlor. It's in Fort Lauderdale. The cache is called Formula Cache because the name of the tattoo parlor is Formula Inc. And I had the opportunity to be in Tampa for work, so I was like, okay, it's done. I guess I'm getting my first tattoo. I always said I would. And then I thought, well, for my first one, what do I want? Because I did think about trackable tattoo, but I thought for my first one, I should get something meaningful. So the tattoo I did get where it was in honor of my grandpa. But so to answer your question, I don't know. I feel like I have one tattoo. It's kind of like check the box. We talk about checking. Yeah. Been there, done that. Do I really need to get a trackable tattoo? So to answer your question, I haven't ruled it out. But part of me feels like if I get another one, it kind of takes away from this one. But I could probably hide it on my leg or something.
Just get it on your other arm. Balance yourself out.
Maybe. If you have any ideas, let me know.
Okay.
If you have any tattoo ideas, how I could, because I don't know about you, but do you have a trackable tattoo?
I do not have any tattoos. No.
Oh, okay. So if you ever got a tattoo, would your first tattoo be a trackable tattoo, or would you get something different?
I have no idea. I've always I've thought about that before. Like my brother has tattoos. I have nothing against tattoos. I have friends with them and all. But it's always my thought is when I'm 80,
right,
what is that going to look like? Am I going to be happy I got that?
Yeah, placement is key. But here's the thing that again, trackable tattoos are cool. I love to discover them. Have you ever discovered a trackable tattoo?
I have not discovered a trackable. Okay. I've seen some on Facebook that people have posted that they've had done, but I've not seen any in person. The tricky thing about it is that the trackable numbers are so random. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I have a hard time putting on my body some random, numerical, alphabetical random number, because it's just kind of like the aesthetic of it. It's just like it's not pretty.
You get a custom one, might be different.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if you got a custom one. And then like I've always thought, I hope geocaching.com will be around forever, right? I hope. Right. But how weird would it be if something like happens, or like all of a sudden trackables are not like a thing?
Yeah.
And then you have like, what's that? Well, back in the day, I had this hobby. I think geocaching will be around in some form, I'm sure, forever, right? But yeah, it's very tied. A trackable number is very tied to a company, Mm-hmm. So that brings me pause, but I'm not completely ruling it out.
It's a very hardcore thing to do, because it's like, what, my thought is, who knows, it may have happened, but I can't help but wonder if you get a trackable tattoo and then 5 years later you just, for whatever reason, you don't geocache anymore and you still have this trackable tattoo, and
yeah. It's forever. And that's why, like, when I got the tattoo, I was like, I gotta get something. My first one, I gotta get something meaningful. There's just less risk involved with that. Less risk, but I'm not ruling it out. I am the geocaching vlogger. So I don't know. I guess maybe I should. I don't know. We'll see.
All of your videos, you have so much energy in all of them. Is there a lot of caffeine behind that? How do you stay so peppy?
Yes. I am I am an avid drinker of the Starbucks. The Starbucks. This is not a sponsored post, but if Starbucks, if you're listening, I will take any of that Starbucks cash so I can fund my trip to Antarctica. No, in all seriousness, I get that question a lot, because a lot of people don't, they see my excitement on geocaching. They're like, well, is he really like, people always say, is he really like that in real life? And, what people see on my videos is they see an average video of like 7 minutes, right? They see 7 minutes of me doing something I really, really love, right? But I don't really love everything I'm doing 24/7, right? So the enthusiasm I have on video is real because I love geocaching so much, and I want to be a great ambassador. So when people watch it, like if they're watching my video for the first time, I want them to see a person that really has passion for the hobby, because it is very, very real. So the enthusiasm is real because I love the hobby. Like I said before, it's changed my life. I think it has the ability to change other people's lives, especially folks that, like, I was not, like, growing up, I wasn't a big person. I wasn't a big outdoors person. I wasn't a camping person, but it's like got me outside to explore things that I never explored before. So I think geocaching has such potential to impact people, and I just want to be a really good ambassador for it. And so, to answer the question seriously, although caffeine is important in the morning,
Yes.
my enthusiasm is real because I love it. I love the hobby. I don't know about you, Amy, but I think about it a lot. Like, even 13 years later, like, even when I'm at work, like, I'm thinking about the next place I want to go. I'm thinking about the next geo tour I want to do. I'm thinking about, oh my gosh, somebody published a new adventure lab in my area and I want to do it. I'm thinking about a lot. So call it obsession. Fine. Maybe it's an obsession, but it's a good obsession. Does that answer your question?
It does. I love it. Your enthusiasm does look very genuine in those videos. It's very obvious that you do love getting to go out and make the videos and see the geocaches, and you do find some pretty amazing ones that I think anybody would really be excited to get to go do.
For sure.
Is there anything you want to share with us that we didn't cover today?
Oh boy, Amy, I could go on and on.
I know.
I mean, let's just we could talk about geocoins. Like, geocoins are fun. I love geocoins. Look at this.
Oh, I love trackables and coins.
Look at that, the dumpster fire.
Oh, they got the dumpster fire 2020.
Got the dumpster fire.
Nice.
This is horrible podcasting content. I'm so sorry. Here, this is the sound. Are you ready? This is the sound of the Geocoin dumpster fire closing. There, look at that. Close 2020. There we go. Yeah, I love it. I love it. There's just so many aspects, right? There's so many aspects of geocaching that are fun. I don't know. If you're seeking out this hobby and maybe you're like, what's out there for podcasts for geocaching? I think your podcast is so accessible, and I think you can learn so much from listening to shows like this, podcasts like this. There's videos out there. Like, take it all in, because I think a lot of people, I experienced this on TikTok, they've forgotten how to, like, use Google and, like, do some research, like, you do some research and really, like, seek out. I didn't have hardly any videos when I started geocaching. Like, there were some some blogs out there and stuff, but there's so much out there you can learn. And I'm sure for those your listeners, if they're new to geocaching, there's something that's really going to hook them, and something that's really going to get them excited about it. For me, the hook really ended up being sharing my geocaching adventures with others. Like, for me, doing YouTube has made me a better geocacher. And maybe, Amy, you can relate to this too. Like, just the curiosity of asking questions, even on your podcast. Like, I'm a better geocacher because I seek out things that I think other people would like to see. And thus, I am a better geocacher because I bring that sort of that curiosity to the activity. So I think geocaching has something for everybody. And I would encourage people, if they're burnt out or they're just learning, like, figure out kind of like what you love about it and then just go for it.
It's great advice, because when I first started geocaching and like, oh, there's all these challenge caches and there's this and there's that, and I'm going to try to do all of them. It's like all of a sudden it feels like work, and it's not fun
Right.
if it feels like work.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
just find the part that you love and focus on that.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever experienced this too, but when you're looking for a geocache and you're like, you can't find it, and then you begin getting frustrated.
Yes.
I have to have like this self-awareness, like, am I having fun right now? Like, because if I'm not having fun, like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? So like, sometimes I just need to step away from a cache and just be like, you know what? I've been here for 30 minutes. It's not fun anymore. Move on. Let's go to the next cache. Because the minute it becomes not fun anymore, like, why are you doing it? Like, I think people forget, like, geocaching, it's a game. It's a game. Like, let's and I don't know if it's good to take games too seriously. If you're not having fun, the point of games is to have fun, right? If you're not having fun, if you're not exploring something new, or if you're not having an enjoyable experience, like, find something else within the hobby that you do enjoy. So yeah, have fun, people. Have fun. And that's what I try to do with my videos, is I try to display having fun. And if I think I can display myself having fun, then other people will, figure out ways to have fun. So are you, Amy, do you have any plans for any future geocaching events again? Because I know you went to Moga. Do you have anything in your sites?
Well, I found out Moga 2022. That's over in Illinois, so I'm definitely planning on that.
In Casey.
Yeah, so I'm planning on that one, and other than that is just kind of watching to see what comes up. I don't have any. I try to hit some community ones when they haven't been too many because of COVID, but they're starting to come back up. So I'll try to go to a couple of those.
Yeah. How far are you from Kansas City?
I am about as far from Kansas City as you can get and still be in the same state. Yes.
Oh, wow.
I am by St. Louis.
Okay.
Which is as far east of Kansas City as you can get in Missouri. So,
well, I was just going to recommend to you, because Geocoin Fest is in Kansas City, and that's a great event. It's not just about geocoins; they have a lot of cool stuff. So I've always enjoyed it, and I think it's at a really cool dinosaur museum. Anyway, it's close by. I think you would really enjoy it.
Yeah, I saw that one come up. I don't know if I'm going to make it to that one, because that is 4 hours across the state.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that one pans out. But.
Yeah, you're like closer to Casey, Illinois.
I am actually.
Have you ever been to Casey? Casey is amazing.
I have been through there on 70 so many times.
Oh, it never stopped?
And I don't think we ever stopped.
Have you ever stopped in Vandalia?
Mm-hmm. Vandalia, yeah.
Have you got the cache at the fire breathing dragon?
I have not.
Oh gosh.
Is that the fire breathing jacket on your video?
Yeah, that's where it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Next time you go through there, you gotta stop. That fire breathing dragon is so cool. Patrick would love it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to check out. I had no clue that was there.
Right.
Your video, it looks so awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. It's like, geocaching takes you to the coolest places. Like, that was like that. I intentionally, on my way to Moga, that's where I stayed overnight, because I wanted to film the fire breathing dragon. So I actually stayed in that little town just for that.
It's awesome.
Cool. Well, do you have anything else?
So I had asked you about a cache to highlight, but I feel like we highlighted so many of your awesome finds.
I'll highlight one more for you.
Okay.
One more. So I just got back 2 weeks ago from New York City, because the Geocachers of Long Island had a big event there with Brian Roth, who's the president of geocaching.com. If you don't know, he had not been home to his home of Long Island since COVID. So he had a community celebration event. The Geocaching of Long Island had a big event. And so it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. On Sunday, I got to do one of the most epic multi-caches in the world, and that is the bridges and arches of Central Park.
Cache code GC17MX1. Difficulty rating 3, terrain rating 2. The cache description is fairly long, so I'm going to let you guys go over to geocaching.com and pull that one up yourselves to read it. There is a link in the show notes if you want to pull it up.
Which is, get this, Amy, I don't know if you've heard of it, a 32, count it, 32 stage multi.
What?
So 32 stages, one smiley. But it takes you to every bridge and every arch in all of Central Park. You literally, by doing the cache, you literally explore all of Central Park, all of it. Most people, it takes 2 or 3 trips to Central Park to finish it. But I was focused, and we had a group of 12 people, and we completed it all in one day. It was 10 miles, 10 miles of walking through Central Park. It was amazing. It was such a cool adventure. And here's my little plug. And I don't know when this is going to air, but of course I made a video of it. And so there's a really epic video with, I show the final container, but you can't tell where it is. So you'd still have to do it to be able to experience it. But what a cool location. What amazing cache. At the end of it, get this. At the end of it, you complete it and you get a geocoin. In the cache is a geocoin, an unactivated geocoin. That you get to keep, that you just take, because the cache owner is so generous that he stocks it. He lives in New York City. He stocks it all the time. So if you complete that epic 32 stages cache, you get a geocoin, and it was really cool. It's a very unique experience to be able to experience all of Central Park in one day. So that was awesome.
32 stages.
That was really cool, and that's coming soon on my videos. So
that's awesome. Yeah, if a multi-cache has more than like 2 stages, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this.
Well, you have to go into it with the right mentality, right? You have to be like, you know what? This is unique. But normally you're right. But like, I was like, I know it's going to take all day. So I focused, we focused on it. We worked as a team, and we found it. We found it. It was unforgettable.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
No problem.
There are links to the Geocaching Vloggers YouTube channel and social media sites in the show notes, as well as links to the specific videos of geocaches that we talked about with him in this episode. So go over to geocacheadventures.org and check it out. Thank you for listening to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1. Have you heard of FTF Magazine? It's the magazine for geocachers. It is full of articles and photos, all sent in by geocachers like you. In fact, some of the guests that you've heard on this show have submitted articles to Geocacher Magazine. They have all kinds of neat stuff and publish achievements that are sent in by geocachers. So if you have an achievement you want to celebrate, send it in and they will add it to the magazine. It is really cool. I recommend it. I subscribe to it myself and I love it. Go check it out at ftfgeo.com. That's ftfgeo.com. And let them know Shadow Dragon 1 sent you. Would you like to be a guest on the show? Do you have a topic you'd like to hear more about? Let me know at geocacheadventures.org. Go over to the contact page and you can send me a message there. It has the podcast email that you can email me to, or you can reach out to Shadow Dragon 1 on geocaching.com. Geocacheadventures.org also has a store page now. You can go over there, geocacheadventures.org, and click on the store page in the menu bar and check it out. Got some great stuff over there for you.